Hi, my name is Heather Ackels. I'm the Executive Director of InterAlliance of Greater Cincinnati, and I get the pleasure today to spend time with you sharing my perspective on personal branding, resume writing, and LinkedIn. All three are critical as you take the leap into the next part of your career. So we're going to get started right off the bat with personal branding. So personal branding is one of those items that is very difficult to understand until you really get the hang of it. But if you think about personal branding, it's not any different than branding of a company. So if we talk through, for example, the InterAlliance brand, we manage our brand through our social media engagements, through our marketing and emails. We have a very consistent looking website. So we try to make sure that our brand is representative of us, meaning we are professional, but also we like to have fun and we're targeted towards high school students. So that is the message that we want to convey in our brand. Now, if I were to show you this logo, my guess is that everyone watching this video would know instantly what this is, right? Apple is an incredible example of perfect marketing. They are consistent with their colors. They are consistent with their timelines, their communications, even to the point of how slick the outside of their cases are is all part of their brand. And they're very diligent to that, but they're also very loyal. We're going to watch this really quick video and then we will talk a little bit more about your personal brand.
Personal branding is very important. Companies and businesses spend millions on ensuring that their branding is accurate to how they want to represent themselves. Making sure that the image is right, the message is clear, and it's appealing to the right audience. Now replace this idea and instead of the business's brand, what about your personal brand? How much time and effort do you spend on your personal branding? Do you even know what your personal branding is? You've got one even though you've never thought about it, and it might be doing you more harm than good. Personal branding allows you to look at yourself from different perspectives. From your perspective, you may think that you have everything you need to get into the job market. However, if you change that perspective, no one will even know you're there. It is important that the right people can see the right thing about you. Let's look at all the things that a business uses to improve their personal brand. Let's say we have a business that produces a product. To improve our brand, we need to look at a few things. One of them being the product features. What is unique about this product that sells it apart from everything else? What is the appeal of our product? Next, we look at the target audience. Who will be buying this product and why? What age range and demographic? Now, what we have to do is emphasize on the product features that will appeal to the target audience. We could do this in a lot of ways. For example, by picking the right logo, by making press releases, and advertising campaigns. Once we've done this, we know the right product features is appealing to the right demographic. This then draws attraction to our product, we get lots of sales, and we live on a nice beach house somewhere. But let's go back. Let's take all of this and imagine that product is you. Now we have a look at your product features. What makes you unique? What specific skills, experiences and specialisms do you have? What are your personal qualities, your interests? All of these are features that make you unique and special. Your target audience will be people in your career area that potentially could employ you. It's also anyone that could help you get in contact with potential employers. Now, like every business, we need to link your product features to your target audience. What key features are you going to emphasize? What are your marketing outputs? Outputs such as your CV, your Facebook profile, what you wear, your body language, what you say and how you say it all communicate your personal brand. You can control your brand and it's important to get it right. Many people are competing for the same job as you, but when you get it right, you might not get that beach house we talked about, but it will land you a job. The rest of the course takes you step by step through everything you need.
Okay. So maybe a little dramatic, I think, in some places, but overall the message is consistent, right? You have to make sure that how you are representing yourself is very clear. It communicates what you want it to communicate, and it's consistent. And I do want to stay consistent because you don't have to fit in or you don't have to be like everyone else. You can have your own personalized brand, hence personal brand, right? You can have that and still be who you are, but it needs to make sure that it is, appropriately professional. So there are two videos here, and I promise we're not going to spend the next 40 minutes just watching videos, but a couple of videos here that I really want to show you. And what I'd like you to think about as you're watching each, and we're going to go back to back, is what's different and how they represent what they're trying to market. Excuse me while I get over to there. Let's close this. Here we go.
All right, let's do this. I got minds to twist and values to warp.
Mr. Tyler, your Skittles portrait.
That is E to the Z ooh tweedly disgusting.
You haven't heard me sing Diddly Ding yet. Dream on,
Higher.
dream on,
I think a little higher.
dream on. Dream on. Rock the rainbow, taste the rainbow.
Okay, so that was obviously Skittles. So let's go to, excuse me, the other one.
At Whole Foods Market, we believe in food that's naturally beautiful and fresh, delicious and powerful, and full of nutrients. Food that makes us nourished and mighty, and connects us to the natural world. So there are no artificial colors, no artificial flavors, no artificial preservatives in any of the food we sell. We believe in real food. Whole Foods Market.
All right, so what were some of the differences? Obviously, with the Skittles commercial, it was kind of ridiculous, right? It was funny, it was creative, it had a lot of colors. It fit really well with what you would expect to come from someone selling candy. Now, Whole Foods, they take their mission in feeding families incredibly wholesome meals very, very seriously. So not so silly, right? Very emotional. You see the little girl right at the very beginning. So it gives those parents who are watching that commercial kind of that kick in the belly, like, oh, I've got to start feeding my kids more organic foods. So I think both really accomplish what they're trying to do, right? And they're very consistent with who they are as a company. And that's what I want you to do as you're building your own personal brand. We really do like to look at that personal brand as if it is a commercial for yourself. So who do you want to impress? What do you want them to walk away with? How do you want them to think about you, right? Those are all things that is important to take into consideration as you're building that brand. How would you like people to see you? Now, my guess is that all of you know the majority of these brands, these logos on this page. Now, I'm not showing you another page of logos to say, oh my gosh, look how great they are at branding. This is to show you all of the places where your personal brand can be impacted and reflected. So what you put on TikTok, that becomes your online brand. LinkedIn, online brand. Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever those additional social media platforms you're using is part of that identity. Now, I think we've probably all heard about these students who have been bullying or saying inappropriate things on their social media, and they've either gotten kicked out of college, they've lost scholarships, they've been removed from their jobs. That's because companies take that very seriously as an extension of you and yourself, putting yourself and your beliefs out there on a social media platform for everyone to see, then becomes an extension of them. So that's just something to think about. My background, I spent 13 years in a local corporate environment. And if someone applied with me, I would always scope them out just to see what's out there, right? See what are you doing and how are you making sure that what you're putting out to the world Does it match your personal brand? And do your values match up with the company's values? So really take that into consideration. It is, what you're going to wear to work. It's how your resume looks. And we're going to get into that next. It's how you present yourself on the internet. It's how you present yourself in an interview. Now, today, we're not going to go into interview skills and some of those tips and tricks, but I'd love to share what we've learned within InterAlliance with you. So please check out those programs that we offer. But it's more than a one-time interaction. I can promise you that. So spend some time doing some soul searching to say, what is my commercial? What am I putting out there for the rest of the world to see? All right, how do I write a resume, right? You're excited, you feel like you've got a good personal brand, you're ready to apply for that job, whether it's in whatever industry that you want. Almost everything requires a resume now. What the heck do you do? How do you start? I guess the first question is, what is it? And we can all read this, right? It is a very formal definition of the word resume. But at the end of the day, it is the entry point into a job. It is the first impression. And that first impression just happens to be on paper, or I guess a Word document or Google document, whatever, PDF. But it is your first engagement. And that's really how you have to look at it. It is a direct extension of yourself. So a few must-haves for your resume, and I added GitHub if you're looking at something technical. My organization focuses on technical. If you're not going for a technical job and you do not have a GitHub, it's really not that big of a deal. If you're going for a technical job and you don't have a GitHub, again, not that big of a deal. It's just something that's nice to have in my industry. Your full name, and that is very important. Please don't use, your nickname. Now, if your name is Daniel and you go by Danny, you can say Daniel, parentheses, Danny, Ackels, whatever your last name is. And that's completely fine, but don't use a nickname or something that is just kind of off the wall. A working and professional email address. This is so critical because, again, it is that personal brand. It's what you're putting out to the ether. It's telling people who you are. So if your personal brand is I like Dr. Pepper at gmail.com, what are you saying about yourself, right? Because that person has to use that email to get in contact with you. And if they're typing in, I like Dr. Pepper at gmail.com, they're going to really wonder, who they're dealing with in this perspective. So try to use something like your first name dot last name at Gmail or something formatted like that. If you've got a really common name, looking at you, all of you, Sarah Smiths out there, you can always add a 2 or your graduation year, something to make it professional, but not necessarily completely off kilter. So make sure that that's there. Also, if you're applying with an email address that you don't use every single day, which happens, right? So maybe you just created this super professional email, make sure that you actually check it. There's nothing worse than applying for a position. You receive the resume as a manager and you're like, wow, this student just rocks my socks. I want to interview them. And then you send 5 emails and you get no response. Number 1, it's really bad. You've missed that opportunity. But number 2, you've made a really bad impression on this company. And maybe you get it together in 6 months to a year, you apply and it hits that manager's desk again. I can assure you they're going to remember that you never responded to them. So just something really to keep in mind. Make sure your email is professional and make sure it's active and working. Your phone number is important. They will call you to do phone screens. So make sure that that's correct. LinkedIn, and we'll get to next, but LinkedIn, if you're going for any type of role that's within a corporate environment, LinkedIn is really critical, but LinkedIn can be helpful across several different industries. So don't sleep on LinkedIn. It's definitely something you should invest in. It's always better to have it than to not. GitHub, we mentioned. GitHub is a really great way to build a technical portfolio. If you're not into technology or if you're not going that route, you should, but that's my sales lady part of me. So if you have one, put it out there. If you don't stress, it's completely fine. The next thing is your experience. Now, I recognize that you're all high school students. You may not have 6 years experience at a corporate company. At least I hope not, because they violated child labor laws. But don't underestimate some of your other experiences. So if you're in sports, if you are in clubs, if you are doing volunteer work outside, Any of those items can be considered experience because you are learning from them. You're building a team, you're delegating tasks, you're keeping, you're learning project management skills, whatever it is, those are very important to have. And then last, of course, and certainly not least, your education information. And please, if you're still in college and you're filling out that resume, please, and if you're in high school or in college and you haven't graduated that level of education, if you have an expected graduation date, adding it to the resume is really helpful, because if you're going for an internship, it allows the company to know how quickly they can pull you in full time. And if you are not going for an internship, but you're going for part-time work, it tells them how many hours approximately you will be able to dedicate. So really important. These are some rules. I'm not going to read it to you. The biggest thing is don't use crazy font. Do not use Minecraft font or Harry Potter font. That's ridiculous. Make sure you use something professional. I personally appreciate Roboto. So just use something that's professional and you're comfortable with. Don't make it so small that no one can read it. Don't make it so large that you're writing a dissertation. Try to go for 1 or 2 pages. Try to make sure the font is about 11 or 12. And it shouldn't be a rainbow. Having some pops of color make a lot of sense, but try to limit it to about 2 different colors. More than that gets really distracted. Make sure you get your resume reviewed by someone. And I don't mean someone who loves you and thinks you can do no wrong, right? Because if I showed my dad my resume or my mom on my resume, she'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of you. This is amazing. I didn't even know you did these things. And she is not going to give me any good feedback, none. So find someone who has your best interest at heart, but doesn't feel pressured to hold back their feedback, right? You want that, you need that. You need someone to say, I love this, but who cares? I don't care that your favorite dog is a Labradoodle. What I do care about is that volunteer experience was 2 years longer than you have. So let's up that. So those are the types of things you really want that person. I can't stress enough. If you have a career counselor or a teacher that you work closely with, or heck, you can send your resume directly to me and I will give you feedback, but find someone who's willing to take that lens and look at it as an employer would. And then lastly, adjust your resume. And this probably isn't necessarily, not necessarily required or even of interest for you right now. Most of you have one resume. This is what I've done in high school. But as you get older and you're looking at different types of roles and different types of positions, and you're trying to identify what to highlight, don't worry about always using the same resume. So for me specifically, my background is heavy in technology. I've got a technology-based resume. It does highlight that I have been a manager, it does identify that I've been a manager and that I have a passion for talent, but it really goes into my technical skills and what I've done there. Now, on the flip side, when I'm looking at positions in the community that are really focused on talent, which is what I do now, then it notates that I have those technical skills, but it really goes into my passion for talent and HR management and those types of things. So just something to consider later in life. Like I said, not terribly applicable today, but good to know. Things that make all employers insane. Old information. If it said that you're graduating high school in 2001 and it's 2003, that's going to tell me that you did not take your time to update your resume before applying. And that's not a good, it's not something that you want to put out there, right? I didn't care enough to make changes for you. Ugly or unprofessional formatting. This is why you need to have someone actually review your resume, but also you have to think about what it communicates if it's not attractive, it's not professionally formatted. It's going to show that either you don't have the skills in whatever tool you were using to put something together of that professional manner, or you don't care. And neither of those are good. Bad spelling or grammar, copy paste what I just said, and then irrelevant nonsense. And I mentioned this a second ago. I don't care that your favorite color is orange. I don't care that your favorite dog is a boxer. I don't care that you like long walks on the beach. Not important. So make sure that those things are not there or completely minimized if for some reason you feel like they're relevant, but just keep it in mind that this needs to be that very professional lens of who you are. All right, 30 seconds. Based on what I just said, what would you give this resume? Good, bad? I'm assuming you guys are talking to yourself because obviously this is a video and I can't hear you, but this is not a good resume. Number one, the font is terrible. Number two, sometimes I donate stuff to the thrift store. That's not experience, it's not relevant. And it's really not very consistent in formatting. Same, let's rate this resume. I would say it's better. I think that overall this looks professional. However, I'm not loving the multiple fonts throughout. And then also the fact that she loves to write, play guitar, do design, and bike. Not relevant to whatever it is that she's trying to do, unless she is designing a guitar to ride on a bike and writing a story about it. So none of that is important. The rest of it looks much better, but again, not important. Also, you can definitely see that she is missing her contact information. So even if someone was going to hire her for a position where she's designing a bike to ride your guitar and write a book about it, they wouldn't be able to contact her because that information is not there. So for this one, I actually really like this resume, but one thing that I will call out that probably a lot of people won't is that this is a very expensive resume to print. So you can see this very, very dark paper, dark color behind the white wording. That means that if they were to print this, which they still do sometimes, but if they were to print this, then this would take a ton of the ink to print. And sometimes that's just something to think about. Other than that, I think this is pretty good. All right, so we've talked about your personal brand. We've talked about how everything you do online attributes to the perfect brand or the personal brand. We've talked about resume writing and why that's critical because it's that first entry point into a position. Most companies will look at your resume and then they will look at your LinkedIn. So these really do go hand in hand. And again, I apologize. I know I'm going really quickly, but I want to make sure that we're hitting all of these points, and LinkedIn is just critical. So some facts here. I'm not going to read everything on this slide. What I want you to take away is that LinkedIn is kind of a big deal, right? Lots and lots of people are using it. Lots and lots of companies are using it. 39 million students and recent grads are on LinkedIn. So not only are people using it to, find jobs and to show off who they are, they're actually using it to build that community and find additional networks and connections. More statistics for you. Probably didn't know this, but LinkedIn, because of that professional networking aspect, 44% of LinkedIn users take home more than $75,000 per year. So that's pretty fantastic. Now, of course, if you sign up for LinkedIn, you're not going to make a lot of money. That's not how it works. But if you get onto LinkedIn and you leverage it appropriately and you build out that network, then it leads you to better career opportunities. More statistics. LinkedIn really loves their statistics. They're all over the place. But again, a ton of reasons, a ton of opportunities on LinkedIn. And it really is important because all of these people that we just mentioned are using it and they're looking for you. So that's completely important. So what is it? Like, it's obviously important, but what is it? Well, it's a social media platform. No, it's not Facebook. No, it's not Twitter. No, it's not TikTok. It is a professional social media platform. So there's a lot of things you can post on it, but there's a ton of things that you should not post on it. It's a good place for you to find jobs, find connections, display your resume, put out your skills and who you are in the professional community. Again, it's that extension of your resume. It is not Facebook. It is not LinkedIn. It is not Twitter. And I'm going to say that several times. It is not where you put your dog photos. It is not, yeah, I have a dog problem. I really like dogs, so I'll mention that a lot. But it is not where you put your political beliefs. None of that goes on the LinkedIn, and we'll talk about that more. It is free. There are some paid subscriptions. You don't need them. Don't get conned into paying for them. What you need is free. This is a basic overview. I have said it is not Facebook, but it kind of looks like Facebook. So you've got your profile, you've got who you are, you're going to have all of your connections and all of your friends or people who do similar things to you on the side. Up at the top, this is going to be what you need to navigate. So you've got home, your network, and these are the people that you're connected with. Jobs, if you're connecting directly with someone and talking to them, any notifications, and then again, your profile. I'm going to skip through these things. These are very intuitive. Basically, your me section, that is going to be everywhere that you put your information. So there's a couple of options, and I've said it 3 or 4 times now. LinkedIn is an extension of your resume. So the great thing is that, one, you could upload the resume that you have directly there. So that way you're not having to maintain 2 different things. Or 2, you can load everything into LinkedIn and then generate a resume. My personal preference is that I do not like the LinkedIn formatted resumes, but I'm crazy. So if that's something that's easier for you and you just want to kind of do that one-stop shop, that's fine. It is available to you. Make sure that you do upload your resume in the about section. It's where everyone goes. It's that first kind of entry point. And then if you do hit the upload button, it might take a little while depending on the size of your resume. Just some feedback. All right, this is the fun stuff. What to do and what not to do on LinkedIn. Photos. Make sure you have a professional picture. And I mean professional based on what you're trying to accomplish. So you can see down here at the bottom, Goldie Chan has fluorescent green hair. That's fantastic. But you can also see that she is in branding and storytelling, which means she's in a very creative type role. So having green hair is going to work really, really well for her in a branding type position. Green hair, probably not going to work incredibly well for her at a financial institution that is still very, very formal in the workplace. So professional picture is critical. Don't use selfies. Don't use filtered images. Don't use pictures of your dogs. Don't use a picture of a bunch of you in a group like smiling and then crop yourself down so that's all you're seeing. Make sure that it is a professional picture. Normally it's going to be from like your chest up. You're going to want to be on a background that's relatively plain. It should be focused on you and not distracting. So that's a really good good rule of thumb. Make sure it's not distracting. So a couple of things that you should absolutely do. Engage. That's probably the most important thing. So go out, find things you like, comment. If someone gets a promotion, say congratulations. If it's their birthday, say happy birthday, give endorsements, engage in the fullest, make sure that you're keeping your stuff up to date rather. What you shouldn't do is only update LinkedIn when you need a job, because an employer can see that. They can see that you have jumped in and gone from 0 to 60 in 3 days because you're trying to find a role. So it's just something to keep in mind. They want to see what your interests are. So that's where you're going to follow companies, you're going to follow other people, important people, Bill Gates, whatever. So make sure you keep that in mind as well. Do promote yourself. That's obvious. That's exactly what this is, right? Making sure you're putting that best foot forward. It is enhancement to your online, professional, personal brand. So make sure you do that. Have a strong headline, and that's your about section. Make sure that people see those items. And then don't have an incomplete profile. Don't post personal material. It's, again, professional. If you're not going to talk about it in the workplace, don't put it on LinkedIn. And don't lie. You know, it's one thing to say, you know, I have Java skills and I'm proficient. It's another thing to say, I am the best Java developer in the city of Cincinnati and I am amazing. Because they're going to find out that it's not true, right? If someone hires you because you're the best Java developer in the city of Cincinnati, or you're the best drone flyer in the city of Cincinnati, and you're not, they're going to find out pretty quickly. And that's going to really, really hurt your brand. And then no politics, no religion, nothing controversial, right? If this is the way that I look at it, if it's going to set off a Twitter rage storm by you posting it, don't put it on LinkedIn. It doesn't belong there. So we've gone through a ton of information very quickly. Sorry, maybe a little too much coffee today. But what I want you to take away from this is that you get to be you. But you need to make sure that the image and that commercial of you that you're building is consistent across your resume and your online engagements. Now, there are lots of things that you can do, right? TikTok, Facebook, whatever. If you don't want employers to see things that you post out there, make sure you've got your security settings in place. So just making sure that the things that you have that are globally visible match your personal brand, because it's just really, really important. So making sure you're managing your social media, making sure that you have a great resume. And again, so many people in your lives are invested in helping you make that great resume and that great LinkedIn profile. So please reach out to your counselors, your teachers, InterAlliance. I mean, there's so many great organizations. Making sure that what's on LinkedIn is legitimate but meaningful. Also, I know that some of us have imposter syndrome. Let me tell you, if you can speak 2-3 languages, put it out there. It doesn't matter to me that you've been able to do that your whole life. I think that's fantastic. So making sure you're highlighting the things that are really, really, really important. Lastly, keep things that aren't relevant off of those pages, right? If you like labradoodles, they don't go on your resume. If you are obsessed with the color orange, doesn't go on LinkedIn. So just making sure that you're sharing the information that's pertinent and relevant to who you are, but also to getting you a career, that next steps after high school. All right. So again, I went over so much information. This video is available, I'm sure. I think it's going to be streamed. But my name is Heather Ackels. I manage InterAlliance.org. So if there's ever any follow-up questions or if you would like a one-on-one to go over any of these items, I'm 100% available to you. Again, InterAlliance, come see me. I cannot wait to see what you guys accomplish after high school. And just know that the city of Cincinnati is already very, very proud of you. And we're really excited to see you change the world.